Hi. Now we're going to talk about the flip side. Connecting to God. When a person picks what he believes about God, he's doing that for a reason, in his own soul. The person who picks Catholicism really believes that that's the way he should relate to God. That's firecrackers going on in the background. The person who picks Calvinism or SDA or whatever religion you want to name, he's picking it. I mean, at first maybe he grew up in it, but there comes a point in his adulthood life where he picks it because he really believes that's how it ought to go. Now, God is total love. Love is the integrity of God. Love is the sovereign integrity of God, how he uses himself. God knows that this is a completely, how do I want to call it, a complete mess for all of us to figure him out. And of course a lot of people argue, well, why does he make it so difficult? No, he's not making it difficult. We're free. If he were to beam you with the correct answers, then you're not free. So what he did is he said, I want everything to be free, everybody to be free to make whatever choices they want. And we're all making choices about how we want to connect to God. Now, whatever connection choices we make, right or wrong, they are choices, and it is a kind of expression of wanting a connection. Now, the atheist is saying he wants no connection because everything he thinks God means is bad. And it's real easy for him to justify that. And who of us can't empathize? Okay, there are a lot of things that are disturbing. You know, here's this big invisible person who doesn't seem to be all that easy to understand. And he has all this power, and all these things are going wrong in my life, and there's so much evil in the world, so how can there really either A, be a God, or B, whoever God is, I don't want to know him. So you can empathize with the atheist. He's got all those issues to work through. That's the disconnection point for him. Now, for the rest of us, who, let's say we'll just restrict it to Christians, okay? But really anybody, whatever beliefs you have about God, that's where you connect. You're connecting to God at that point. So God reaches down and connects to you at that point. Now, I've received a lot of criticism from people because on the one hand, because I'm trying to be balanced, I'll come out and say, okay, this is what's wrong with Catholicism. I don't say all of it, I just focus on a couple of things. The same thing with Calvinism, blah, 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 blah. I haven't finished those videos yet, but I will. And then I completely seem to contradict myself and say, oh, but it's okay. Yeah, well, here's why it's okay. Because a person who's a Catholic or a Calvinist or SDA, whatever religion you want to name, they're picking that because to them that connects them with God. However right or wrong they are in their particular beliefs, they're picking them to connect or disconnect. And wherever they're willing to connect, God will, as it were, talk to them through that connection. He talks, for example, to the Muslim, all right, through the Muslim connection. Now, Islam is not from God. I mean, I'll do the videos on that maybe sometime. It takes a while. But the Muslim doesn't know that. So God, because he's absolute love, this is how he resolves everything. He will reach down to the Muslim or the Christian or, you know, whatever denomination you are, believe, Hindu, whatever. He'll reach down to what you do understand. And he works through that corridor, precept on precept, an idea on idea. And he'll use all of us as little mouths to communicate. He'll use your circumstances. He'll use everything to get you to come to the point where you actually see him. And then, of course, even once you do see him, there's, you know, I mean, technically speaking, I know a lot about God and a lot about his word. I've been trained for 35 years. I'm 55 years old. I ought to know something by now. or else God is not capable, which of course we know is not true, because anything I know I only got from him. Alright, but that doesn't mean I don't still have issues. In fact, there's a lot of stuff that if I don't get my act together on it and respond to him better, I'm going to fail in the spiritual life. So see, it's not really even about being competent with Bible. You need to get God's thoughts. That's where they're located. Okay, fine. And to the extent you don't, you're distant. Okay, but once you have those thoughts, it's worse. It was worse for Christ, who's perfect and had all God's thoughts. And what God does is he makes it, well, he doesn't actually make it this way, but it becomes harder and harder and harder to live the more you know God. So see, the people who know aren't better than the people who don't. And the people who don't know, technically they should know, and they're at fault for that, la la la, but they're not better, worse than the ones who do know. And in all events, God will connect. And of course, the more you do know him, the better you do know the Bible, the more responsible you are. So, Christ was responsible for the salvation of everybody. So those who are more like him are more responsible. Their lives are harder. And they're not better than the ones who don't. Because God wants to connect to everybody. And the consummate verse on this, my very favorite verse, is Isaiah 54:1. And my favorite phrase in that verse is وَتَخَلِيلُ خَلَا, because it tells you everything about God's attitude right there. Wa in Hebrew means and, but it depends on context, just like in English. Tachali, it's an imperative to make a victory shout. There was a special kind of victory shout in their culture, and the modern day version of that is when you see, like in some of the movies, like The Mummy, where they go. It's something they do with their tongue. I can't do it the same way. That's what you said when the troops were coming home after a victorious war, okay? And that's what Tzachali means. Shout, do your victory, your customary victory shout when the troops are coming home. Lo means not. Chala means never having gone into labor. Or not going into labor, rather. Lo chala means never having gone into labor. Meaning that it's depicted as a woman here because its pregnancy is Isaiah's theme throughout. The woman is depicted as never bearing kids, so always sterile. So watzachali lo chala, and trill with victory, you who never were in labor. In other words, all of us are sterile, aren't we? We are so puny and sterile that we make big stinks out of little tiny things we do. Oh, I learned a Bible Hebrew word today. Aren't I a good person? Not really, but it's a good thing that you got to have. We're so stupid, like Augustine, which I'll get to when I do the Calvinist videos. Augustine made this incredibly fatuous remark in his treatise on free will, which the Calvinists have all been arguing against ever since, that if free will can choose what's good, and therefore free will chooses what's good, then the person must be good. No. If I buy a Durabook computer, it's because it is good. I'm choosing it because it is good. I free will to have it because it is good. Not me. When you go to buy a can of tomatoes at the store, it's because the can of tomatoes is good. Alright? So we're so sterile that every little thing we do, if the object that we're touching is good, like, you're wearing those Nike shoes because Michael Jordan wore them, well then you are good because you're wearing the same shoes. See how stupid that is? So it's really neat that God will connect to us everywhere. And he does that, and when he does that, he says, what's a khalil khala? Because he makes the connection. He makes good on what's sterile. So if you're Catholic and you're feeling bad about it because you hear all these attacks, don't worry. Just keep talking to God. And whatever needs to be straightened out, he'll straighten out. And of course, the flip side, if you absolutely know Bible so well, and blah, 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 don't be like the Pharisee in the parable. Don't think that because you know it so well, that you're anything with God. Remember 1 Corinthians 13:3? Without love, you're nothing. But God is love. So his love connects to all of us. And that's the flip side of distance from God. We're choosing the distance, but he's choosing to connect. So whatever you are, wherever you are, look for the connections. They're there.